Hello, everybody. Hopefully, you can hear us. Hopefully, you can see us. Due to some unforeseen circumstances, I am running tech tonight, so I am a little bit rusty. So, hopefully, everything looks and sounds good on your end. Hey, Crystal. So, we are at episode 5, and coincidentally, level 5. I cannot believe we got here that quickly. It's felt like it happened over the course of a weekend. But anyway, we have
Bill.
what? What's up?
No, I was agreeing with you.
Oh yeah. So we have another very exciting episode for you tonight. We have revealed the tapestry that consists of the mystery, and now it is on you all to find the threads to pull on this tapestry and start to unravel them. But before we get there, Smitty, that one was for you. That metaphor. Before we get there, let's do some player introductions. Let's start out with Jacob. Why don't you go ahead?
Oh, hey, everybody. My name is Jacob Plick, Duval King Jacob here on the interwebs, and excited to be back after a week off and ready to rock. And I'm playing Cinnamon Garrus. He's a Circle of Wildfire Druid. He, they pronouns. He's Aragon.
All right, and let's go over to Rain next.
Hello, everybody. My name is Rain. I am on Instagram and TikTok as Virgo Rain from my mermaid and cosplaying adventures, and I am happy to run amok tonight.
And who are you playing?
Big Mama Mocha, but she is small.
Okay, great. Smitty, let's go to you next.
Hey all, PB Smitty on the interwebs, mostly on the Twitters. In addition to being an avid role player, I also restore and weave many different tapestries. I'm really big into loomcraft. So thank you, Bill, for destroying all the work that I've put in my art. I will be playing second, a Kenku cleric, member of Team Smol, they, them pronouns.
And that's why they call you the Loom Master General.
You do?
Yeah. Okay, Alex.
Hello, everybody. My name is Alex or Ziva. You can find me on Instagram, Twitter, Twitch, Ziva RPG. I am playing Hosen Sunhelm, the Runite Fighter Rogue multi-class rapier-wielding fighter. Pronouns are he, him. I'm very excited to be here. Thank you so much.
And I am Bill Adelphia on Twitter. And before we get started, we always want to make sure that we thank our artists. We got happy caps on the overlays, and they are just beautiful. And Lynn helped us out with the character arts, and you can see them on the overlays as well. And Maddie helped us out with the intro and promos, which you're going to see here in a little bit. As always, don't forget to hop into our Discord. And there we go. That command worked. And yeah, don't forget we also have Kofi that can help you get closer to us. Really close, like snuggle close. It's a little much, the snuggling, but you know, look, we are devoted
With consent.
if nothing else to our Kofi members. So with all that said, let's go on an adventure.
Real quick, before we go on that adventure, click the button if you haven't already.
Yeah, please.
Oh, you already did it.
No, we're back.
Okay, cool. So, checking. Oh, I was just gonna add. So this week in particular is pretty wild and very special because this coming Thursday is the finale of Blood In and Blood Out, our Blades in the Dark campaign. Thursday right here at 9:00 p.m. Eastern time. So and I think it's gonna be a wild finish, given how last 2 weeks ago ended. So just a quick note there. Thank you, Bill.
Sorry about that. I am
It's cool.
Too quick on the draw. All right, let's go to Adventure Town. let's get into it with a recap. So in the last episode, Team Smol finished the battle with the mage just as he was about to hightail it out of there. But instead of killing them, however, Second saved the mage, allowing them to interrogate him about what he was doing. And after finding a little bit more out about his motives, they sent him off into the night naked and bound. And importantly, that's when they all leveled up to 5. Afterwards, they tried to process what they'd seen a little bit, and then everybody retired to bed without watch. Big Mama was then awoken by a massive figure standing in her tent, and she found out quickly that this was a werewolf by the name of Cowl, who was looking for that mage. Cowl explained that he wanted to kill the mage and collect his contract to add to his collection, which he was using to build an argument to start taking down the League of Miracles, which he believes is an utterly corrupt organization with ulterior motives. After a bit of a tense interaction, with Second standing up to Cowl, the werewolf decided to play nice with you all, offering to take watch while you recovered from the battle. And we're going to pick up the story there, but before I turn it over to you all just yet, I want to ask Cinnabon a couple of questions.
Sure.
So what could you describe to me what your homeland looked like? Where you spent your youth, walking and exploring. What did that look like to you?
Well, I had to pull that up because I was not ready for that question. But that's okay. It won't take me but a second. So the Garrus family grew up in the land of the Fae, and most specifically, near the Shade Murk Forest, and it has all of these. It's actually very beautiful, dark greenery, trees, moss everywhere. Shortly, kind of north, there is a large collection of several rivers, and because it's for all intents and purposes, it's a normal forest, but with some Feywild type flair, and including some fairly intelligent grass, and some rivers that tend to have minds of their own.
And what specifically did your house look like? When you think about it inside of your mind, what does your house appear to be?
That's a good question because there wasn't really a house, so to speak. It's sort of a collection of trees and moss and kind of mud, sort of putting things together, kind of ad hoc depending on where they were in the forest. They liked to explore and kind of travel all around. So fairly often they wouldn't stay the same place for longer than a week or so.
Okay, great. So they're a bit nomadic and
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And one last question. What was your relationship? Oh, I'm sorry. What were your parents' relationship with each other?
As far as he knew, the pretty good. He definitely someone was definitely closer to his mother. That's probably where some of his because Cinnamon growing up had a bit of a temper, and that's and his mother definitely does. She's also a wildfire druid, but none of the other children are, and his dad is actually a Circle of the Stars druid. But he's who, even though he is super close to his mom, he definitely still trusts his dad, and they seem to like the fire that comes from her, and sort of the love and adoration that comes, even though he's a little stern, it's sort of with a smile and a wink from behind his mom's back, and somehow that seems to connect.
Okay. So the reason I'm asking is because last night, after your battle, you had another dream. And maybe a dream isn't the right term, it's probably more accurately described as a nightmare. And this nightmare is the same one that you've had kind of on and off. And even as familiar as you are with it, it never ceases to wake you up in a cold sweat. And you're in that homeland, coming back from an expedition. Maybe you were doing some gathering, and you've got a backpack full of mushrooms and berries and fruits plucked from the forest around you. And you see your current residence, the place where you bed down for the week. But it doesn't really look the same way that it did when you left. It's strangely muted somehow. The greens and yellows that are contained within the trees are not as vibrant as they were. And you see your parents in one of their characteristic moments where they need a break from the chaos happening with all of the siblings. And your mother is just about to fly off the handle, and your father sort of does that smile and nod to her, and they walk outside of the little hovel that you have carved out for yourself for this week. And as you've seen them do many times before, he takes her hand in his, and they just go and walk and kind of talk to each other. But one thing that you notice is that their fur isn't as bright as it normally is. And looking at them, that's when you feel it. An emptiness, some sort of great void within yourself that's quickening its emptying pace. And the vibrance around you of everything seems to be draining in some way. And for some reason, your dream always shifts at this exact moment. Where you're no longer at your house, you're somewhere else. But in typical dream fashion, you don't really question it, and it just kind of makes sense in terms of the dream world that you've crafted. You're at a place that's nearby, that you have explored a couple of times earlier this week, and it's always dark when you go there, but the darkness is somehow comforting to you, and this place has these stone-like structures, almost like cairns, scattered throughout haphazardly, with one large stone structure in the center that has an open hole on one side that leads down into the dirt. And as you approach that hole inside of that stone structure, you can tell that the void, that draining feeling, feels almost like a breeze on your back leading down into that hole. And that's when you wake up. Like you always do, right before you enter.
Is it still dark out?
You can start to hear that birds are starting to begin their chirping sounds, and it's pretty early. I would assume, especially after last night, you are probably the first one to have woken up.
Yeah, absolutely. And that dream almost threatens to consume his mind, but he sort of shakes it off because there's other just as important decisions to be made currently. And he's going to spend the next 10 minutes ritually casting augury. Kind of lays out these several of these green colored sticks that are sort of placed into the pattern of one of the trees that they used to stay in.
Okay. So let's hop out of the game for a second and talk about augury, my absolute least favorite spell.
Yep.
So when I think about the spirit of augury, It is sort of to try and give you a directional sense of a decision that you're going to make. Now, the thing that I kind of feel like is you have a number of decisions in front of you. And I don't know if, well, me, Bill, the DM, does not know what that decision is going to be. So my initial gut reaction is, you know, more information needed, or whatever the 8-ball
Certainly.
says. You know what I mean?
Yeah, certainly.
Try
And so,
again
like,
later.
right, which is fair, because like it's something that you and I've talked about is like in his mind, the decision is made. It's just, is it the fair or right one?
So I don't know what decision you've
So-
made. What decision have you made?
He's in his mind, head to Terse Fields, take care of that business, and he's head to the Shade Barrow.
Okay. All right. Only because I want to be accurate with the terminology, because I know there's like 4 different versions of it.
Yeah.
Okay. Now,
Yeah, I think specifically it's the Omen, right? Like, this is the decision that he came to last night before going to bed.
okay. So with casting augury and that being what you are channeling into the spell, that decision that you've made, what you see inside of these 3 green sticks is that there is a small sort of illusory feeling that comes over these sticks where they start to smoke and smolder, and then they begin to flicker a little bit with flame, and then your sticks are very quickly consumed by fire. And then just as quickly as that had happened, they are immediately stuffed out, and the sweet smell of the smoke of these sticks kind of gets inside of your nostrils, and you look down as the smoke clears from this kind of magical fire, and inside of this placement of those 3 green sticks is a small bud of a tiny plant that has reached its leaves out of the soil. And in game terms, I just kind of reskinned Wheel and Woe for good and bad results.
And he'll kind of stare at the bud for a minute. Well, I'm glad we're on the same page then. And he'll start his day.
All right. What about the rest of you? Are you sleeping in? Do you do calisthenics? How does your morning typically start?
I think Hosen definitely does some calisthenics. Just stretches, does some Pilates in the morning. Loves to be limber in the morning. Has like this full routine with his armor, making sure it's nice, clean, spotless, especially something that's brand new. As he delicately puts it on carefully, making sure it fits just right.
Perfect. So you're already putting your armor on.
Yes.
Outstanding. Second, how about you?
Second crawls out from under the camp table and brushes a few leaves and other bits off of his cloak, but His feathers are fairly rumpled, sticking out at odd angles, and they don't really change that. Don't really seem to notice it. They do take out their prayer blanket and lay it down, looking at the sun a little bit and slightly adjusting the angle of the prayer blanket, so they're facing Mercy, and eventually falls to their knees and begins to do their prayers to Sarenrae.
Excellent. And Big Mama.
Oh, she's still asleep. She's like calling the hogs. Snoring.
Outstanding.
Yeah.
Perfect.
You can tell she's sleeping very peacefully.
All right. So until somebody actively wakes up Big Mama, we are going to assume that she is currently asleep. Now, the two of you, Hosen and Second, you see that Cowl, as he promised, is still there. He is sitting by the river, right next to where Hosen, you initially saw that guard. That's basically where his post is at the moment, and he has a pocket knife in his hand, and he's kind of just mindlessly carving some wood there. And yeah, so what do the two of you do? And I assume also at this point, Cinnabon probably comes out.
Well, good morning,
morning.
everybody. It's good to see you. How did everyone sleep?
If I'm being honest, not so great. But I suppose given what is happening, I suppose it's just an acknowledgement of that.
I agree.
You?
Pretty kind of the opposite. I think I did a lot yesterday that I haven't done before. So getting rest was definitely nice. And now that we have the food, I'm happy. I think we did a good job yesterday.
That I think we did too. I think it was a little bit reckless, but I think it ended decently, I suppose.
I agree.
With a few seconds.
Games are the venue of an unfocused mind.
Actually reminds me. When you're unsure of something, what do you do? Second. Do you pray to this Sarenrae figure? How's that going for you?
No, Second, you're not a baker. When you're baking, you got to follow rules. Follow the instructions or it won't work out, just as you struggle with most of what the elders ask you. So no, child, you're not a baker. You are a cook. You take what you see in this world, come up with your own way to do things, your own recipes, if you will. So go out there and do what you're going to do.
That might be the smartest thing I've ever heard, if I'm being honest.
Honestly, same. That was amazing.
A lot of my favorite plants grow out of shit.
As always, the 1-2 punch.
My neighbors just walked by my window as I said that.
And I oop. That's amazing. So shall we get everybody? Well, I suppose everybody is up so far.
Should we? I think I hear Big Mama Mocha still asleep. Should we?
That's probably a good idea. Sure.
Let's do it. Hosen goes over and wakes up Big Mama Mocha, just kind of gently tapping your shoulder.
And she wakes up. Oh, morning, darling. Is it morning already?
Sadly, yes.
I declare.
Oh, yes, you did. Good morning, honey. And she sees your feathers, so she starts to like tough or like smooth them out, kind of starts to preen them for a second. There, right as rain.
I cannot wait for a second to say that later in such a wonderful moment. Actually, I don't know. Is that inappropriate? Should I feel like I'm anticipating. It is inappropriate? Okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I got excited. Sorry.
Hosen kind of nods along and then rips the page out of his journal that he wrote lines in and just kind of crumples it up, puts it in his pocket. Yes, yeah, of course. Yeah. No one saw that. Okay, cool. All right. Hosen kind of looks at everyone's. Well, since we're awake here, I don't know about you all, but what should we do?
There's a lot that we can do. But first, I think Kyle, was it? Is that right?
He is a little bit far away from you, unless you specifically say you're going to go up and talk to him. He's kind of like out of this conversation.
Yeah, I was actually shouting. I was shouting for him essentially.
Oh, okay. He puts down his the stick that he's whittling and folds up his pocket knife and turns around and says, "Yeah.
Thank you for your help. With all of that, are you tired? Do you need to rest? Do we need to take a watch for you?"
No, I'm pretty set. As you know, I kind of snuck up on you all. I know these woods pretty well.
Speaking of that, so we did hear a bit of howling on our way here. Would you be able to assist us with that? As far as our exit from this forest?
Just point out clarification, because it'll actually impact what Second chose to do for this morning. Did Big Mama Mocha tell the rest of the group that Cowl showed up as a werewolf?
Actually, I don't think she did.
Okay.
Oh, good, Smitty?
That.
Yep.
Okay. He kind of cocks his head to one side a little bit, and he smirks and says, "Yeah, that's not going to be an issue." And you could see that he kind of looks over to your, like, behind you, and he kind of clicks his tongue, which I can't do, but he does really, really well. So just imagine that.
Sure.
Cool. And coming from inside of the bushes is a massive direwolf, and this massive direwolf kind of sits next to him, and he puts his hands on the top of the direwolf's head and just kind of pets it, and he says, "Yeah, we're not going to bother you. We just needed to follow you a little bit. Apologies if we scared you. We weren't exactly sure what it was that you were doing."
No harm, no foul, I suppose. Just a few spell slots. All good.
Just a few.
Hosen leans over to Second and kind of goes, "Look, I know we can't trust him, but that's kind of cool, right? That's just a little bit cool. I don't really trust him that much, but he has a cool wolf. I want one." Just like very just
It's so
innocently,
cute.
just right.
So Second reaches out and pats Hosen and just says, "One hell of an icebreaker." Looking at the wolf.
Exactly. Just a little bit jealous of this direwolf.
I mean, what is someone without their accessories?
True. Well, since you know these woods very well, there's this massive river here. Getting these cars across is probably dangerous. Do you know a shorter way, a narrower part of the river that we could safely cross these carts, or is this the only wide enough road to take it down?
This
Yeah,
is
how did they get it over here?
Yeah.
well, they didn't do a great job. You see, there's one cart that's spilled over into the river itself. But best thing that you can do is kind of push across and hope for the best. Maybe try and counterbalance these things. Put something on the upstream side so it doesn't push on the downstream and tip it over. Beyond that, well, I did promise you that I would help push these things out. So
Yes. Yes, you did.
willing to do that.
Good place to start, I think.
But if you remember, a part of that was that you would render that contract to me.
Ah, yes. It does seem that was 2 weeks ago exactly. So I'm not exactly sure.
Seems like a long time ago.
Yeah, we're kind of doing an in-game, in-person recap.
It's fine.
How long
it's
was Big
fine.
Mama Mooka sleeping?
Right, exactly. There's actually no torch fills anymore. Like it's revenge. Burn it to the ground. I'm gonna go ahead and summon my wildfire spirit, and just my little guy pops up. It's small, but could help, perhaps. Can't hurt, I suppose. And are we pushing? Are we pulling? I suppose we can use some of this rope. I do have some rope. We could probably pull with that, or over the shoulder and pull. Wait, pull. It's both pulling. I need coffee.
Hosen goes through their bags and whatnot and kind of pulls out some rope. If we tie some to the front of the wagon, and we have these two strong people, and maybe I can grow into my larger self and
There we
kind
go.
of I could hold the back, or we have some of us sitting in the back while some people pull on it, try to kind of balance, but also maybe that might help.
Are you suggesting that I need to sit in the back just because I'm plump? That I'm going to counterbalance this?
Oh no, I'm so sorry if
I know.
that came off that way. That's not my
I'm just
intention whatsoever.
messing.
Oh, okay, cool.
I'm just messing.
Whew. Actually,
I have a suggestion. I mean, why don't I just turn into a horse and help pull?
that sounds like
You
a
know?
great idea.
I can. A strapping war horse.
I couldn't do that as well.
As everyone,
Can. I like that.
as everyone's having this conversation, Second just sits down by the water and pokes his hand in the water a little bit, and then touches the ground, and does that back and forth for a little bit, closes their eyes, and just sits for 10 minutes.
Okay.
Cool.
Cal looks over your shoulder and says, looks like there's a bunch of rocks over there. Pointing to like where the waterfall is, there's like a kind of a little bit of a small rock formation that had like crumbled, and he says, you could use those as counterbalances.
That's actually a very smart idea.
I suppose we should. Should we start moving them before, or I'm not sure of the steps.
Yeah. I think we should line up the wagons up against the river. We
All right.
get the rocks, put them as counterbalances.
All right.
Everyone grab some ropes, and we could start pulling these things across.
Okay.
I think with all of our combined strength, we should be able to pull it across. If one person wants, I can turn to my large self or something and kind of guide it, at least so it doesn't like tip.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, so let's do this because I don't think it's going to be terribly interesting for anybody to do this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different times for each of the different carriages.
Sure.
So because you've planned this out in this way, which I really, really like, I think, Hosen, why don't you turn into your large version and then make the group's strength check for basically the entire endeavor. Yes,
Cool.
Smitty.
So when Hosen, second finishes and pops his eyes up, their eyes up, and puts a tentative foot out onto the water, and then a second one, and just walks out on top of the river, and then smiles and waves to everyone else.
I think I'm about to be really excited about whatever you did, Seconds. So walks over.
Look at him.
All of you can now walk on
So
top of the
innovative.
water.
I step on the water. Amazing.
Including Cowl and giant Direwolf, should they so choose.
So cool.
You've got a walk on water spell?
Mm-hmm.
Just water? Is this water walking?
Yeah, water walk.
That is badass.
Dope.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted to know. That was the replacement for if I needed the thing for knowing that they were a werewolf,
Oh.
which I did not. So
There you go.
Oh,
Cool.
I can't wait.
I see. Okay, so you switched up your spells.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Because
Mhm.
I
No
had
rest, baby.
loaded your character
Oh,
sheet
sorry.
beforehand. That's fine. Just your character sheet, dude. I'm just spying.
Mhm.
I can't wait. See, I've heard stories of like people, adventurers in taverns telling stories, and this I feel like is going to be one of them.
Agreed.
So how does that? Well, I guess that doesn't have much of an effect on the carts, but I would say that this, especially with Hosen's large size, almost negates the need for rolling at all because there's like zero chance.
There's no difficult terrain or like.
Yeah, it's not difficult terrain whatsoever. So I would just say it auto succeeds.
Cool.
Cool, because I have a +0 to strength, even with advantage.
Same.
I was like, oh god.
Oh no. Okay, yeah, good deal for that then.
Yeah.
Okay, so basically,
Jesus.
shortly thereafter, you are able to make all of the carts go across without really any issues whatsoever. And Cowl then gets up to the front and grabs the first cart and kind of puts a rope over his shoulders that's hitched to the front of the cart, and he says, I think we should probably get going out of here. But just to be clear, my help only extends to the borders of this forest. After that, you're going to be on your own.
That's, I think, fair.
Alrighty.
Smitty, would you like to say something?
trying to remember if we specifically said that
To
he would come to
Tersfields.
Terse Fields, and I think we did.
We did.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I don't think I wrote it down, so second's not capable of repeating it, unfortunately.
I mean, listen, you all do whatever you would like to with what he just said.
Mm-hmm,
Yep.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'll actually challenge it. Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Hosen's putting that in the back pocket.
Yeah.
Yeah. Big Mama Mocha like sachets forward, pulls out one of the sprigs of mistletoe from her crown, does a little druid craft to make it just a little bit larger, and then hands it over to Cal and goes, "This is for you to remember me. Because I'm sure we may meet again sometime."
He looks down at you because he's probably 6'6" or so.
So she's like,
Makes sense.
And he grabs it and says, "Oh, trust me. With you lot, I'm not soon gonna forget you."
"I've heard that before."
Well, with the acquisition of that last contract, this is going to be the beginning of the end for the League of Miracles. And how could I forget the group that helped me do that?
Off we go then.
Yep. So, with him in the lead and his Direwolf running point, scouting up ahead to see if there's anything dangerous, you can see a couple of times that the Direwolf does come back, and the two of them speak an unspoken language between the two of them, and you'll see that Cal kind of reroutes a little bit, just slightly, presumably to avoid some sort of unseen threat up ahead. And this goes on a little bit, and I said it took you maybe about 3 or 4 hours to get in. And because that Cowell really knows where he's going and knows this forest like the back of his hand, it only takes you 2 hours to get out. So if we're talking about timing, you probably woke up, Jacob, Cinnabon woke up probably around 6, with everybody rousing around 7:30. So let's call this 10 o'clock in the morning.
Sure.
That you finally get to the edge of the forest. And he, actually, you also see, you're not exactly close to where you entered, but because the line of the forest is pretty clean, you could see maybe about half a mile away. You could see the horses are still.
I was just about to say, I was like, oh god,
Yeah.
we forgot the horse.
No, the
I was
horses are
just about to
still
ask.
tied up, but
Cool.
they have kind of bent
God.
down, and you can see them kind of like chewing at some of the grass that's around them.
Sure.
And he says, "All right. So my debt is paid. And what about yours?" And he puts his hands out.
You sure you don't want to continue on to Toast Fields? After all, you mentioned remembering us, but wouldn't you want the people that you helped save to thank you personally?
No, all of that is, excuse me, it's bullshit to me. I am, at this moment, very singularly focused on getting to Westrun. And there, I should be able to find an audience with some of the governmental folks. Work my way up.
Well, hopefully we'll see you there sometime.
Hosen chimes in and goes, "Which governmental officials are you planning on meeting with?"
To be honest, city life isn't my strong suit. And he kind of like gestures broadly at the forest. And he says, "I haven't thought of that yet. I figured I would just go to the government and knock. I don't know. If you have any suggestions or contacts, that would be gratefully helpful."
I
That's
grew up
what I
in
would do.
Westrun. I grew up in Westrun. If you take these carts to Toast Fields with us, I could give you some names, some contacts, put in a good word, so you have a direct line.
Make a persuasion check with advantage.
Cast guidance on Hosen, baby.
Just
Cool.
First roll of the night.
Let's
First roll.
First
go.
roll.
Did I forget to launch roll 20? Yes, I did. All right. Let's go hit into here.
Rusty. It's all good.
It's all good. Do 17 plus a d4.
Add that D4.
19.
Nice.
19.
I think the children came in the room.
No, they did not.
Oh.
But I just had to yell at them to get ready. 5 minutes.
Thank you, 5.
Thank you, 5.
Okay, he looks at you, and then he kind of looks up at the sky to, and maybe with your not with your passive insight.
Yeah.
But it kind
LOL.
it kind of looks as though he's thinking about things from a timing perspective, and he then looks back at you after looking up at the sky and says, "This is going to put me behind what I had hoped would be my schedule, but that's fine. I could use some direction of where to go." And he picks up the rope that he was carrying and says, "We should probably make haste then."
Let's keep going.
Second, we'll pat Cowl on the, I guess, hip, and just say, "Remember, the Everlight guides and protects those who seek to help others."
He looks down at you and he says, You follow some god? This Everlight?"
Yes.
He looks down and says, "None of that shit's ever helped me. Helping others is a small act when you are trying to dismantle an entire structure of oppression and destruction. Bringing your carts to another town is not of the scale of help that I peddle in."
Second narrows their eyes a bit, and goes, "You are as bad at counting as you are at reading. I don't believe you." Walks away.
All right. He picks up his rope and starts walking off, with or without you. So in his mind, just so you know, he is carrying this one, and that is kind of the scope of the contract that he has with you all. So
Valid.
So like, you are welcome to follow him. I know you also want to get the horses. You're welcome to chat or whatever. But as far as Cal is concerned, he is off
In that direction.
with his cart.
As Second walks away from him, and what you have also learned, though you may be too stubborn to see it yet, is that you can't do it by yourself.
Okay. I don't think he responds to that.
Totally fine.
Yeah.
I dropped them like that. I wanted to. That's all fine.
Yeah. Okay. I feel as though this is probably, before we get into things, I had told the crew earlier on that I have to take a quick break to go and put my children to bed. So we're gonna take that break right now.
Real life.
Before we get to Turst Fields and whatever comes afterwards. They are already dressed and they have their teeth brushed and everything is ready to go. So I think I just need to go.
And we're so proud of you, kids. We're so proud of you. If you ever see this in like 10 years when it's appropriate.
So
I think he's gonna pull out like
Great
a dart tube and just like. and, like,
I love it. I love it. Just
Cool.
open the door.
There,
And we're back.
We don't even need a break. And we're back.
And we're back. All right. So we should only be gone for maybe 15 minutes absolute max, shooting for 10. So we'll be back at 9:03 ish.
9.
Eastern time. All right. See you in a little bit.
All right. podcast Druid Craft.
And we are back. So children successfully asleep, except I had to go and run upstairs real quick because the youngest, the 6-year-old, was banging on the door of my 11-year-old and like running back into his bed because he thought it was super funny. Yeah, hot shit you are, 6-year-old. God damn.
Absolutely amazing.
You say that
Incredible.
as if they didn't learn it from somewhere, Bill.
Yeah, so let's turn on some sun-dappled trail music and let's get back to it. So where we last left off, Cowl had brought the cart with him and just kind of took off. Now, Cinnabon, you had kind of said one last thing to him as he was turning away about how it's important to do this together as a group, to which he did not respond and just continued walking along. And I wouldn't necessarily say that he left you alone because you're still like 20 feet away from him, but
Certainly.
the intent is that he has continued. So what would the four of you like to do now?
How quick could, say, Big Mama get over to like the horses and corral them up
So as I mentioned
and not be
before,
left behind?
it's roughly about half a mile, so you could probably get there in, I don't know, 15 minutes or something.
Cool.
Yeah. She'll, convey to the group that she plans on going there, and of course she can catch up to them whilst riding a horse and,
Certainly.
bonanzaing at the others.
Yeah, I think Hosen goes over and helps too as one of the original horse riders, and so we can come on back, tie up. Do we know how many horses are needed to pull a cart? Like, is it just one horse per cart, or are we just kind of...
Why don't you roll a animal handling check?
Let's do it.
Cool. Guidance.
Just him?
No, you can do it too.
Okay.
Wait, I'm not there. Never mind. Not guidance.
Great. Yeah, well, weird question. Can I guidance
that.
myself or guidance Hosen?
I think it's a willing creature, so I think you can guidance yourself.
Okay.
Do it.
All right.
I got a 13.
And then, hold on, let me do my guidance as well.
So Hosen, altogether, you got 13?
Plus 12.
Okay. Wait, is that 13 inclusive of the 2 that you rolled for guidance?
Yes. Accidentally rolled it because Cinnabon isn't with us.
Okay. Okay, got it. All right,
Yeah,
so
just 13.
13 for Hosen and 12 for Big Mama, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. So neither one of you is very sure. But what you think is that there is definitely a relationship between the speed with which you can travel and the weight of that the horses are carrying. So you don't know specifically what that means, but you do know that the more that the horses are carrying, obviously the slower you're going to go.
Cool.
So more or less you've got Cowl carrying 1, which gives you 4 remaining. So you could tie 2 to each horse or any combination that you can think of.
Trying to think. Yeah, probably smart to Jose kind of approaches the group and goes, we should tie up 1 horse per cart. And I mean, my large form only lasts not very long. Pretty exhausting. I don't know how much help it would be. maybe two of us can try to push a cart. I don't know. We'll give it a shot.
How long can you last?
From my experiences, probably around a minute.
Jesus Christ!
Are you fucking kidding me right now? Are you fucking kidding me? We are 5 years old.
We are children. I love it. I was like, how do I do this? But I was like,
I can't fucking handle
there's
this
no way.
anymore.
My large form only lasts a minute.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Riveting amphitheater content.
Okay, so in all seriousness, does giant form really only last 1 minute?
Only lasts a minute.
Okay,
M-
alright.
Mainly for combat usage.
Okay, cool. I wasn't sure if you were like doubling down on the bit or if that was true.
Oh, it was great.
If I was doubling down a bit, I would have said 30 seconds, but
Okay.
Yeah,
Go ahead. Sorry.
Big Mama looks at that and is like, honey.
look, I'm
And,
new to this.
Not helping.
Just Mama will be like, I've read books, I can help that. So
She totally would have
Hi.
like a fucking Kama Sutra library.
Mhm.
just page 394, you know. And then so she'll just go ahead and wild shape into a horse to help pull. I think she can hopefully latch on 2 of them, see if that works. I don't know if she'll be stronger than the other horses.
So, in terms of strength, no, I don't think that you would be stronger than the other horses. However, because you are sharing the load a little bit, you are able to at least make sure that one of the horses is less waylaid by the other one. So, the problem is you are limited by the one that is currently carrying the most, which is, that's going to slow you down a little bit.
Second, we'll start to like move bags from the 1-horse cart to the 2-horse cart, and every once in a while run a bag up and try and surreptitiously drop it into Cowell's cart as well, until they get kind of moving roughly at the same speed. Every once in a while they'll stand like on the side of the road and be like speed, and then keep running moving bags around.
I love Second so much.
Okay.
That guy's amazing.
Okay, that's fair enough. So, what I think happens now is that Cowell does have a little bit of a lead on you. Let's call it, maybe 15. Actually, no, because you had to get there. So let's call it 30 minutes of a lead on you. And what that means is that you can still see Cowell off in the distance carrying this cart behind him, and he is full on, just nonstop.
Non-stop.
Singularly directed at this one goal of dropping off this cart at Turst Fields. And that affords the 4 of you the opportunity to, kind of think about what to do next after this. Because if I remember right, there is not a general consensus.
So, because I certainly would love to have the conversation now, but
You don't have to.
I think I committed to turning into a horse, so to help with the burden. So,
Oh, wait. Both of you turned into horses. I'm sorry. I missed that.
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
So, second, what do you think we should do?
Just y'all too.
Okay, so then that means that there is an equal distribution of the carts amongst the 2 actual horses and the 2 druid horses.
Second moves all the bags back.
No, he's fine. He's fine.
Yeah.
Okay then. So the other thing that is interesting about Wild Shape is that it only lasts half of your druid level. So
Yep, 2 hours.
it'll be 2 hours.
So
Now,
I'm gonna go and just burn both. If
okay, yeah, fair enough. So what that means then
Same.
is, I believe I had mentioned on your way here that this was roughly about an 8-hour journey. So you're able to make it halfway in your horse form. So we're going to kind of fast forward to
Sure.
the point where 4 hours in, both of your wild shapes are used up. And Rain, I didn't want to speak for you and Big Mama, but I'm assuming you also burned both your wild shapes.
I did.
Okay, cool. So 4 hours in, you are roughly halfway there, and you're currently out of wild shapes. What do you do?
I think we might be back to pushing.
How much time do you need to rest before turn into that form again?
Just a short one.
Is it a short rest? Yep, it is a short rest. So if you give us an hour, we could re-up.
Yeah.
Dinner break.
Yeah, take a little lunch, a light lunch. During this time, as we were walking, I've been thinking. There's a lot of things that we could do. There's these contracts that Cal has. There's the weird saltiness of the river. There's Cinnabon, your family. I think what I've learned in these brief, basically 48 hours that we've been together, is that who you spend your time with is important. Who you choose to be your family is important. Those you consider dear and close to you matter most. Cinnabon, I care about you. And I want to help you get your family back. I don't mean to speak for everyone here. If anyone has any objections or other ideas, I'm just kind of speaking from the heart on this.
Well, I don't have any family. And seeing how it has affected Cinnabunny Rabbit in that way, I would be remiss not trying to help him recover his family. So I'm game for that.
You have no friends, no family. No one wants you here. You'll always be alone. And then second turns into Cinnabon. I'm looking for someone who looks like me.
I think he just bursts into tears.
Oh. Big Mama reaches up and, pulls him into a warm hug.
I'm sorry. You see, I had this idea of pitching about this would be a really great idea for everyone, and then heading over to Westrun afterwards because it's nearby, apparently. Thank you all so much.
Of course. We're here for you.
Talking. Thank you. We were talking about the other day. We were talking a bit about guilt, and if I'm being very honest with all of you, I feel overwhelmingly guilty for whatever my family is going through right now. They're the reason why we're here, or I'm the reason that we're here, and maybe the reason why they're in trouble. But I also don't want to abandon these new people that we've met. So I assure you, once I figure that out, and at least confirm that they're in some decent shape, I'm happy to help with anything else. Yeah, my word.
That sounds like a great plan. Find your family with the family that you just were blessed with. I think we're more than friends now.
Near death experiences? Certainly, I would expect so. Yes.
I mean that we would, shape it into the same animal and walking near each other. That's what I was.
Oh, right. Yeah, that's also true. Yes. That's fair. Right. I went right for the jugular, as my mother would say. God, I hope they're okay.
Me too.
Yeah. Let's go get them back.
Yes. Also, Goodberry.
Goodberry, yes.
Yes.
I'll cast Goodberry. Hand them out.
So, Jacob, I want to ask you a question because it just kind of occurred to me that this is probably a very strange situation for Cinnabon, because it seems, from what I know about Cinnabon, that he didn't really have a lot of friends growing up. Most of the people that he surrounded himself with were his family. And
pretty much everybody.
And I'm curious because it seems to me that there is a like you grow up with your family. And this is kind of, Alex, to what you were saying before. You don't choose these people. You are grown up inside of this family, and there's really no choice in the matter. Whether or not your brothers or sisters are rambunctious or chaotic or troubling or whatever, you don't really have a chance to make that decision, at least up until adulthood, when you can choose your own fucking family. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. But now you're kind of in a situation where 48 hours has defined what your new kind of family is. And so I'm curious, what Cinnabon, not ever really having friends or other people outside of his family that he'd be able to rely on, what does that feel like?
It's overwhelming, which is why he burst into tears. It's been such a quick 2 days of these dreams that he doesn't quite understand, convincing his family to make their way to the Primaterial to just find out more about what else is out there, on top of figuring out what all of this means, and then tie that into the augury spell earlier of both possibilities, and which was essentially confirmation from what he was already thinking anyway. And then building up a sort of a plan in his mind of this is hopefully the right decision for everyone. And to realize that none of that was necessary is mind blowing, and genuinely overwhelmingly wow. There isn't really quite like, it's just all like these like layers of emotions that are just bleeding out of him right now.
Yeah.
And that he's in the right place. That's what it all kind of bubbles up to. Because that he didn't want to regret coming here, and like that was kind of bubbling underneath the surface a bit. And that sort of washed away the minute everyone was like down.
Yeah.
So that was way longer than I thought it was going to be.
No, I appreciate it.
Beautiful.
That's helpful. Okay, cool. So, and with that, your short rest is over. You have your wild shapes back, recharged. But before, actually, you know what? Before we get there, second, is there anything that you would like to do during this time? So you basically been kind of playing a background role during this short rest.
No, I think Second's happy to be amongst the group. That's something he's experienced generally, feeling well, they haven't really experienced feeling comfortable and not nervous around a group. So they will be with the group, but they somewhat conspicuously will always be making sure that their back is never turned to the group, just in case this is a long con and there's some sort of trick to be played on Second. But otherwise, they're letting themselves enjoy for a moment the feeling of the group.
Yeah, I get that. Okay.
That's how I feel when Bill and I hang out. So
What? Hold on a sec. Wait a sec. That the whole thing is a long con where I am going to make
I'm
fun
waiting
of
for you to pants me at some point.
Wait a sec. The whole thing is a long con where I'm going to make fun of you?
200 episodes in, I'm waiting for the hammer to drop. And,
Amazing.
Actually, if I'm sorry to do this, but my wife is traveling and she just texted me if she can talk. Would you be comfortable talking amongst yourselves for 5 minutes while I go?
Of course we.
I would love that.
All right, cool.
Bill, did you just ask role players to role play?
All right, I'll be right back.
Before we turn into the horses.
We just duck down. You know?
Yeah, there we
We're
go.
all left.
I kind of want you all to roleplay after you turn into the horses.
Nay,
5 minutes,
Nay.
Watch me whip. Watch me nay.
Well, it's like I assume that we have like a magic timer that's going on, and as like we're group hugging like Cinema just turns into a horse just suddenly, just like, oh, that hour's.
That sounds like popcorn. Like,
Yeah, exactly. Actually, I think with all of us here, how do we feel about going after these contracts with or without Cowl? I'm kind of interested in them. There's some that seem to stand out, but I do want to take
which
down
ones?
this. The nobles of Westrun. I've grown up there, lived there, and certainly had my suspicions that the politicians and nobles weren't great, for lack of a better term. So we'd love to investigate that a little bit.
Certainly. Is it two in Western, actually? The mage situation? The magic schools?
That's right. I believe so.
That
As
is
far as
correct.
Katal, Swamp, and Trina, if I'm even saying those correctly, I don't know where either of those are, if I'm being honest.
Trina's quite a bit of ways, but I just don't like how keeping these so close to the chest when we could tell people about them, you know? One man going through trying to solve all these cases is not very efficient, I guess.
Certainly. But I appreciate his passion.
I do too. A little misguided, but I do too.
Aren't we all?
True.
I can't even make fun, really. I convinced my entire family to travel across the plains on a hunch.
Don't feel guilty. You didn't know that would happen. It wasn't your
Actually,
fault.
I appreciate that. I do. That reminds me, have any of you run into just bandits like this before? Is this a normal thing here? I don't recall any bandits in the land of the Fae, so it's a bit new to me.
Yeah, I am not from here, so I am not used to this.
I've seen, or rather heard, stories of bandits, but mostly stealing food or like it was with the Terse Fields. This kidnapping seems much more targeted. Seems strange. Bandit activity has risen since the drought, but this is something else. I don't know what's going on. I don't know why they sought your family out or what, but
I appreciate that we are unique, but as far as why target us, I'm not sure.
yeah.
Really, I'm grateful they didn't just like take our money and kill us. So I suppose that's good news.
And we could have this conversation if you want, but I wonder, how did you get away?
To be honest, I don't know. We were traveling on a road kind of like this one late in the night, and I recall hearing voices, and we stopped. The voices got a bit louder and threatening, and as you can probably imagine, I'm very protective of my younger siblings. So I did something a bit reckless and foolish, and got out and tried to back up my father and mother, and then that's the last thing I remember of that situation.
You were
Just
very
heard a
brave.
loud whistling and then a thud, and then I woke up in Terse Fields.
You were incredibly brave in that moment.
I appreciate it. I do. Just brave, maybe. I just wish I was stronger.
You and me both. Second, I'm curious. I don't know. Oh, where are you from? If that's an appropriate question to ask, I don't. Gotcha. How long have you been on the road? Have you been traveling for quite some time?
You are as bad at counting as you are at reading.
Fair.
I love this puzzle.
Me too.
Duval.
Put the puzzle together, face down.
Did you second encounter any bandits like what Cinnabon experienced?
That's kidnapping.
Yeah. Interesting. Seems like bandits are getting more and more ambitious.
If you ain't gonna fight, you better run. If you ain't gonna run, you better hide. And if you ain't gonna hide, well, kid, you sure as shit better be able to take a beating.
That last part, I feel like I've done that part better. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
Is that inappropriate?
He just like ears just like flop down. Like wah wah.
Question second. Was that a bandit who said that to you? I think I understand. Gotcha.
Well, I
Do
don't.
you?
No.
Maybe you should clue me in.
Well, what's the
One
phrase?
word,
like?
2 syllables.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
right.
hamster wheel's turning, but the hamster is dead, and like it's just not. It's
Right,
just not.
does not compute, does not. 404.
It's not. It was just like, yes, got it. Just
Amazing.
I think we
Actually,
should.
second.
Oh, you.
No, it's fine. I was just. Don't get me wrong. I more than appreciate your companionship and would like to continue that. But longer term, what do you want to do? Yes, you.
Life, faith, peace, redemption. Guide us, bless us.
Not to speak for everyone, but I think we'd be down for that.
Agreed.
Oh, Big Mama
Yeah.
Mocha, you mentioned you're not from around here. Where are you from?
It's a long story. From the swamps. That's where I was raised.
Well,
And
No, you first. Go for it.
oh, she wasn't saying anything. She was just kind of glancing at you.
Oh. Wait a second. And kind of, Kate Tall, is that where you're from? I mean, I don't assume there's one swamp in Tal'dorei, but that's the only swamp that I do know exists, according to this contract.
Yes, that is where I am from.
Oh, wonderful. We certainly should look into that then.
I think we can wait on that one. I don't like that contract.
Oh, I see.
To be fair.
Do you think someone's after you?
You know, from the way this contract reads, I think that answer is yes. Why? I have a hunch. Justifiably so. Doubtful. In some circumstances. That's all.
Well, if someone's trying to get to you, they have to get through me first.
And then so Big Mama kind of glances up the way where Cowell's kind of, where he's coming out, or going rather. And then so she looks at you, goes in, and this kind of puts an arm around your shoulder, goes, I have no doubt you have my back. And then squeezes in.
Gives you a big hug.
Well, this was nice.
It was.
It's cathartic. It was cathartic.
All right. I appreciate you carrying the torch there. I caught the last little bit of that, and that was incredibly moving. And I'm definitely going to check out the VOD, which all of you should also check out the VOD up on our YouTube sometime future times.
Double days.
Mm-hmm.
Now, so as I mentioned before, short rest achieved. You now have your wild shapes back, which I assume you end up burning again to sort of get things on the road.
Yep.
Okay.
Yay! Oh, we just used them.
And it's gone.
Okay. So the remainder of your journey is smooth. It is uneventful, and somewhat blissful for what you are looking at in the near future here. But with all of that said, you come back to Turst Fields. Off in the distance, you start to see the telltale signs. Hosen, probably you recognize the shapes of these buildings probably better than anybody else at this point. And you do see one thing that is strange, or I'm sorry, it's not strange. It's one thing that is pointed to you that you didn't see before you left, which is the fact that there is one cart with one figure standing more or less on the outskirts of town. And this is, of course, Cowell, who is awaiting your approach. And as you approach, he calls out to you and says, "Took you long enough."
Duval. Everyone is as strong as you.
Well, and he kind of surveys your Team Smol atmosphere and says, it's not That's surprising, is it?
It was a joke.
Kind of takes his hand off of the rope that he was still holding onto inexplicably, and then kind of runs his hands through his long ponytail and says, "Now, I feel as though I have more than satisfactorily completed my end of the bargain. So if you wouldn't mind, not only the contract, but Hosen, would you mind pointing me in the right direction?"
Of course. I think Hosen, and I'll leave this kind of, we could kind of workshop this a little bit. I think Hosen thinks about his time in West Run, and if he wants to find a mage who is trying to pay off nobles, I think if there was some kind, someone who to make a deal. I feel like nobles wouldn't meet with, I, yeah, I think. Would there be like a guild merchant? Would there be someone that Balthazar knew during time making leather for the city that would, of high ranking, most likely manage this deal? If this is a good amount of gold being spent, there might be someone as kind of like a bookie of sorts, of someone like kind of overseeing the deal, kind of a deal, just kind of like a middleman between the noble and the mage. Would that be a thing, or am I reaching too far here?
So, I don't necessarily think that there would be a middleman. Now, that said, I think, as I mentioned last time, the League of Miracles is on the surface a very legitimate organization, and they carry contracts for many different types of deeds. And so you could potentially, I mean, hypothetically, you could get a mage for, if you want to remodel your house, essentially, you could pay the right amount of money, and then the mage would come in, abracadabra, your house is gorgeous.
Right.
So I feel as though there is like a central office for the League of Miracles, and they kind of contract those things out to the appropriate mages with the appropriate skill levels. But I don't know if that's what you're looking for necessarily, because that is kind of, I mean, maybe it is. Maybe that is what you give to Cowl as sort of like a starting point of, this is where all of the League of Miracles activities happens, and maybe that's something that you want to give to Cowl. That said, on the other side of the coin, governmental offices, I feel as though your family would be fairly connected with governmental officials.
Yeah.
And so maybe this is a situation where there might be, a local city ordinance member that is kind of in charge of some of the more minutia as it relates to making sure that the lights stay on at night, making sure that the water is purified and ready to go, and those sorts of like nitty gritty. And maybe this is a person that you've kind of begrudgingly got to know over time.
Yeah.
And that might be a good place to start with, like, because the thing is that because you have known this person for a really long time, your family has known them for a really long time, keep in the back of your mind that there is other parts of your backstory that might apply to what's going on here. But all of that aside, this person is an incredibly fastidious and dedicated civil servant, and is a believer in government as a way to better the lives of folks that adhere to the trade-off in a society between taxes and services. And so this person is a person that you really feel as though would be a good person to go to.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I just took the whole thing right out of your hands. I'm sorry if I
No.
did.
No. I think it's great. I think to add on to it, I think having like an ordinance member that could be like the person to talk to about where this money could be going. But also, I think you are a big dude with a direwolf walking into a city with a bunch of contracts. That's going to draw eyes. So I think if I can, I would also ask. We could role play this out a little bit too if you want, but I would like to give him a name of someone in the Shields that I can trust to give him the lay of the land. I don't know much about current politics, but it's just like, hey, here's this ordinance member that could be good information about where the money is going. But like, if you want the lay of the land about like what's going on, name drop my name to this person, and they will hook you up. Like they will help give you not protection, but just more updated information or that kind of deal.
Okay, and assuming that we have kind of role played that out a little bit, he then asks you, so you think I should leave the wolf behind?
I think so. Or keep it safe, I feel like.
She's not going to like that. But this is something that needs to happen, and I think Blizzard will understand. And then he kind of reaches into the cart, and you can see that the direwolf is inside and has been resting this whole time. And he starts to pet her, and again, starting to like communicate without words in some way. And then once he's completed that, he turns back to you, Hosen, and says, I cannot tell you how much I appreciate your help. You've given me not only these contacts and people to speak with, but I also now have better direction. And I think that's helpful. By the way,
What?
you mentioned this person in the Shields that I could go and speak with, but you never mentioned their name.
Their name?
FantasyNameGenerators.com.
Her name is Barbara.
Barbara. I'll look out for her. And you say that she's trustworthy.
Trust her with my life.
Because the nature of this is such that my life is also going to be put on the line with what I'm trying to accomplish here. Why do you trust her with your life? It would be helpful for me to know that, so that I can also trust her.
Hosen grabs his rapier, pulls it out, looks at it. Not only did she help raise me, but she gave me this. The things that help protect me, I care about most. This armor made by my husband, this rapier given to me by someone who wanted to help me in a time of need.
If this Barbara did all that for you, and seeing what it seems like you are a beacon of right, I feel comfortable being able to reach out to her. And I thank you, and I thank your friends as well. I am excited but nervous for what comes next. We should keep in touch.
We should. One last thing. We will run into each other at some point. I feel like we have very similar goals. If we do, I want to know which nobles were a part of this deal. I want to know how much money. This contract means a lot to me as well. And I trust you to find out this information with these contacts that I've given you. I'm curious and I want to know as well.
He looks at you knowingly and kind of furrows his brow and says, you don't get to survive on your own in the dangerous woods without knowing a thing or two about the people you keep company. And that makes sense. There's more to you than what is on the surface, Hosen.
Thank you.
And I'm assuming that you have already provided the contract, or if not, he kind of reaches out and says, "Well, I should be on my way."
I think. I'm trying to remember, was I the one with the contract? Because I will hand the contract right to him.
Good question. I think it was either you or Big Mama Mocha that had them.
Let's just say Hosen, you had it. I don't remember either. It's been 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah, true.
Right.
Exactly. Play it back. Watch the VOD. All right.
Yeah. Oh no.
I hand him the contract.
Okay. He grabs it and he folds it extremely carefully, and then he puts it inside of the satchel that he had around his waist, and he bids you adieu and starts walking off into the west. Then
Thank you again for your help.
you see Blizzard jump out of the cart and follow him, and he turns around, kneels down, kind of ruffles her ears, and there is again some sort of unspoken dialogue between the two of them, and then he reaches down with his face, and then Blizzard kind of nuzzles his face with hers, and then they part, and she walks back into the east and he to the west. And now you are outside of Tersfields with 5 big carts full of grain.
Mm-hmm. I think. Are we close to the horse stable that we took these horses from?
Yes.
Cool. Hosen kind of looks to the group and goes, we should probably show, like, look what we did with your horses. Isn't this great? Thank you again for letting us borrow them. That kind of deal. Is that what we should go? I think, never done this before.
I mean, I think it'd be nice. I mean, and we left money,
True.
a lot of it. So
Yeah, true.
let's just go see, and then show them that we brought the horses back with
All the food of Tal'dorei, yeah.
and we brought them back alive.
Mm-hmm.
Be nice.
Yeah.
So
Probably help move the rest of these carts into town, kind of a deal. Yeah.
okay, so the plan is to bring the carts by hand or with the horses.
With the horses.
I think someone would ask, should we let the mayor know of the good news first?
Oh. Yes.
Oh, I had forgot. Like he kind of points at Big Mama, and it's like, oh, I forgot about that. That is an interesting situation that I really don't understand. But all right.
Truth be told, I can't lay off the tall ones. So, yes,
What does that mean exactly?
tall ones.
No, lay off. I don't really understand what you mean by lay
Oh.
off.
Oh. Well, there's a saying that when you are attracted to something and it warms your nunchuckles, you can't lay off them.
Audience with the governmental folks.
That.
Vroom, goes right over his head. And so,
He's sending smiles like,
yeah, he's just like, all right.
All right. Let's go tell the
He's
mayor
just
the
like
good news.
letting it like process, and it's just not like digesting whatsoever.
Okay. So I'm still not 100% sure what the plan is.
Yeah, we're just tossing darts at the wall.
Yeah.
As one does.
Hosen kind of speaks up and goes, well, I don't trust the mayor too much to just grab the food and claim that they were the hero. They did offer
why don't
us
we-
money.
Why don't we ask your husband?
True. Well, I should probably check in on him. That's
a good idea.
We should. Okay.
Kind of surprised that wasn't the first thing you wanted to do.
I wasn't gonna bring it up first, and then I was like, no, I guess I'll bring it up now. Oh, that's amazing.
Hosen doesn't really know what to do.
Oh yeah, my husband. Yeah, certainly. Yep.
Well,
Yep.
I mean, to be fair, there is the question of the carts themselves, because I would imagine, as we've established before, that Balthazar's place is not necessarily in the center of town. And so what are you going to do with these 5 carts? Are you going to leave them where they are? Probably not. Well, if not, then what do you do? Do you bring them to Balthazar? Do you bring them to the center of town? These are all questions that I'm just kind of like rhetorically asking. So
yeah, totally.
Yeah.
wasn't there something about the silos?
Yeah, we could have Terrace Fields kind of bring the food to the silos. Maybe just send her to town and
We need people, right?
Yeah, we have the food. We just need to give it to them.
Right. We did the more difficult part.
Yeah.
Second?
Go to town?
Just
We
go.
just set up a buffet.
Yeah. Let's just go.
All right.
Let's go to town.
Okay.
Figure out the logistics later.
All right.
Yeah, fuck them cards.
So you bring the carts into town, and I'm assuming drawn by the horses as well, but more or less at this point it's kind of irrelevant, because what happens in the center of town is that it starts off as a very slow rumble, and then it moves into a wave of elation from the town as they realize what it is that you all have done. Not only have you provided them with sustenance to make it through the entire winter, but you've actually helped their distribution channels throughout the entire Tal'dorei continent. And so that means to them that their children won't starve, that the children of their neighbors won't starve, and the children of the entire continent won't starve. And so there is a massive throng of people kind of running towards you as you are coming in the bright sky with these beautiful carts dragged behind you. And Hosen especially, I think you are getting the majority of the adulation at the moment, just because you are kind of a denizen of the town, and they all know you as you know, kind of the mild-mannered husband of the leather worker. But now their perceptions have changed slightly, that you are an adventurer, and that is a name that is going to stick with you.
Hosen kind of takes this moment as people are kind of coming up to him. He looks down. Armor, pristine. Takes good care of it. Looks at his hands. Looks, kind of smudges on his cheek. There's dirt and blood still on him. There's like some mud that was kicked from the river in his hair. All these people are congratulating him, even though his armor is clean. He still feels this sense of disbelief and just kind of soaks it all in, just a little conflicted about like this being an adventurer. It's pretty exciting, but also weird, everything that just happened in the past 48 hours.
Yeah,
and it soaks it all in.
I think you also smell the pipe smoke of Silas, the innkeeper, who strides over to you, kind of in the midst of everybody kind of swarming all four of you together, and then he comes over to you and puts a hand on your shoulder while people are like actively trying to lift you up as like, you know, to put you up in the air, and and he kind of looks at you, and before they finally get you up airborne, he looks you probably the deepest in your eyes that he's ever looked anybody, and he says, one of the things that I've heard from lots of people is that the scars from battle are not necessarily cordoned off to being on the outside only. And as he says this, you are swept up in the adulation, and all four of you, in fact, are now kind of like being boosted up into the air on the shoulders of people, as now kind of the celebration, the impromptu celebration is kicking off. You can also see as you're kind of now at an elevated level here that there are some people that are now taking those carts themselves and then pushing them and dragging them off to where the silos are to refill the stocks themselves. What would you like to do?
Is this like adulation happening in like the center of town? Like where are we currently? Just okay, we're saying it out.
Ironically, it is exactly in the center of town, where I think the four of you all together have had both your most troubling moments in your life as well as your most celebratory moment, and all in the span of 48 hours. Actually, I don't want to speak for you. Maybe you know, Balthazar's marriage to Hosen was the most celebratory, but you know, like there is definitely a
close second. No,
minute.
Unless someone wants to go first, yeah, go for it.
Second has a big smile on their face and is waving at the people as they take the cart away. And just yelling, "The biscuits are nice and hot for you. Take one to eat and a few more to keep your covers warm under the table." And is just repeating that over and over again.
Incredible.
I would say with Big Mama, she is trying to hold her robe to be, you know, preserving her modesty. But she does want to see as she looks around. Does she notice, of course, with the throng of people that are really excited and everything, does she notice anything where some people may not be as excited?
Ooh.
Make a perception check, because that's a very interesting question.
That is a super interesting question.
Good.
Right. Percepciones. All right. 19.
No, turn.
No, no, no.
You can definitively see that the folks that are in the center of the town with you are uniformly ecstatic.
Oh. And she's good. She throws her arms up as she joins the body surfing.
But that was a very interesting thread to pull on, for sure.
It sure was. No doubt. No doubt. Fucking Team Smol. I think Cinnabon sort of like takes a moment to, after an emotional afternoon, takes a moment for just a sec to sort of revel in it. And I think his eyes betray him though, as eventually his eyes sort of make their way towards the clinic.
Okay.
I assume it is still dark.
From where you're standing right now in the center of town, it's difficult for you to see. Now,
Which is fine.
Yeah, go ahead.
That's where he that's kind of where his smile sort of slackens.
Yeah, very interesting. Okay. So this adulation happens for maybe 5 or 10 minutes, and
Sure.
at a certain point, the throng kind of, it doesn't necessarily dissipate, but they bring you down off of their shoulders, and you all get kind of many rounds of back pats and attaboys and girls and attatheys, and then you kind of end up elated a little bit with the feeling of you've just kind of completed this, and
Against the odds.
and you don't currently see the mayor, but you are kind of free to do whatever you would like to, whether it is go to the infirmary, go to Balthazar's, go to the mayor's, whatever you'd like.
Yeah, I think as Hosen's like in the celebration, two things is like as he's being lifted up in the air and all that kind of stuff, he just kind of goes, "Where's my husband? Has anyone seen my husband?" It's just like bouncing up and down. It's like, this is great and all, but
Excuse
also,
me,
I really
where
want to
is
see
my
my
husband?
husband. And secondly is, can I also get a drink? Can anyone give me an ale? Anything of that sort? Need one of those. All right. Do I see my husband anywhere?
Not in the crowd. Nope.
Got it. Alrighty.
No, and I think this would probably be well within his behavioral pattern, because
Yeah.
he probably chose the location of the house because it is not surrounded by the hustle and bustle. I think one of the main reasons why you chose Turffield to begin with is probably because it's a little bit slower, and even more so if you're on the outskirts of town. So for lack of a better term, Balthazar is a house bunny. No, that's not the right word. Homebody.
Homebody?
Homebody. House buddy.
No.
Where did I get
I was
house
like,
bunny?
I am
House
offended.
He's a house bunny.
Home buddy. Okay. So yeah, he is a homebody.
I'm more of a forest bunny, actually.
Jesus Christ. Sometimes the brain just does not work for you. Anyway. So yeah, you assume he's probably working on some sort of project or something.
Yeah, I think I meet up with the group and I gotta go see my husband. You all want to come with me, or if we want to go talk to the mayor first, that's okay. But I think I gotta go talk to my husband. Got to see him.
Certainly.
You can let him know that that you wear hero quite well.
Thank you.
Always. Let's go.
Sure.
All right. So, so you approach the familiar hovel of your home, Hosen.
I knock on the door rapidly. I just super excited.
So the aggressive manner with which you are rapping on this door elicits the sound of kind of a hurried stepping towards the door, and Balthazar, you can hear on the other side saying, "It's not an emergency, I'm sure. Please hold your breath as I am coming to the door right." And then as he says, now he opens up the door and he says, "My God, it is an emergency." And he just sort of jumps at you and then and grabs you inside of his arms.
I hold him tightly for quite a long time. As I kind of I kind of picture like him picking me up and spinning me around kind of a deal. So I think as he puts me down, I immediately go, "This armor works perfectly. It was amazing." And I just started telling like the tales of how the cloak worked and all this kind of stuff, and how I tried to be sneaky and it failed, but then like it protected me and all this kind of stuff.
And he says, "Well, it definitely didn't protect you from all this dirt." And he grabs like a wash rag that he has on his back and sort of like starts washing some of the dirt that you have on your cheeks away from you. And what is this? Is this blood? Tell me that's not yours.
Yes and no. I don't know actually. That's weird. But anyways, yeah, we got the food. We brought it back.
You can see that in his reaction, he has to process that. And he says, "Well, I guess I was wrong about you, wasn't I, Hosen? Hosen Sunhelm, hero. That's really something."
It is.
Big damn hero.
"I can't believe my husband is a hero. I'm married to a hero." And he just starts like buffing himself out and puffing out his chest and sort of walking around, very confident in the fact that he is married to the savior of Turst Fields. Oh, and I'm sure all y'all helped as well. And he kind of like gestures to the three of you. But if you'll permit me, I'm just going to attribute most of it to my Hosen here.
And if it wasn't for you, this armor, these people, I look back to the group, wouldn't have made it back alive. Hosen gets real somber for a second, because throughout the entire length of back, he knew he was gonna have to tell his husband this. "I know I just came back. Sunburn's family's in danger and we have to go rescue them. And I'm gonna go with them."
I'm sorry. I thought you just said that you're going away again. Is that what I heard?
It is.
And it's for somebody else's family.
It is.
Now, Hosen, you are your own adult. You can make your own decisions. And I'm not going to stand in the way of those decisions, but I just. Haven't you been a hero enough?
I To be honest, I don't think I want to be a hero.
Well, that's great then. Then you just stay here. I heard they just got some new books in the library. You can read them to me like you always do, and have it over tea.
I don't want to be a hero, but I need to help them. I Growing up, you know this, it was bizarre. I was held up on this pedestal, but no matter how hard I tried to live up to the expectation, I was never enough for my father. I always lived in that shadow. Going out, helping these people. Was the first time I stepped out of that shadow. And I thought running away from it would help. I thought, but if I'm ever going to fully be rid of him, of the family, it's by helping others. Stepping into that light. Look back over the second. That shows me that I can do it. I don't need a pedestal to reach up to. I could tell my own story. I could set my own expectations.
He looks disappointed. And you could see his lips start to tremble a little bit. And he says to you, "You were never enough for your father, and you carry that pain with you. And I know that. And Hosen, I love you for it. But that's what I have tried to do since the moment I met you, is make sure you know that you are enough for me. There's no pedestals here. We're on the same level. We love each other with the same strength. And you don't need to prove yourself to me, to them, to anybody. And as I said, if you decide that you're going to go on this, and that means, well, frankly, that means that I feel like I'm not enough. Because you have these desires to go and fight battles and get involved in matters that, frankly, aren't much of your concern. For what seems like, again, to be frank, a bit of a selfish pursuit. something that makes you feel better, so that you could help and you could gather your strength and show how strong you are. What's wrong with showing your strength at home?
There isn't, and I love you so much. For always being by my side, for being there when I need you most. When we left the city, I needed somebody to pick me up when I was down, to carry me to safety. I needed a hero, and you were my hero in that moment.
Hosen, all I'm saying is that I'm afraid. I'm afraid of what is going to happen if you go on this. This gentleman's family is taken, likely by somebody very dangerous, likely by somebody that has bad motives, and you are going to be throwing yourself into that fire, and I'm afraid. And I'm not going to apologize for being afraid, but at the same time, I don't want you to feel like your wings are being clipped. So if this is something that you need to do, I just need you to promise me that this is it.
Hosen, for probably the first time, truly, unequivocally, not like a little white lie. He looks at Balthazar and says, I promise this will be the last one. Once we save Cinnabon's family, I will return home.
Now, is this deception?
Yes.
Same for that.
Okay, I would like you to roll that deception, please.
Oh shit.
I don't know why it was rolled with advantage.
Just go ahead and re-roll.
Yeah. Did it again. What's going on here? I'm just gonna add my roll a d20 and then roll that. Do this. 16 on the die, plus 1, 17.
Okay, I'm going to roll an insight check,
Sure.
but I'm going to do it secretly.
Secret rolls.
Okay.
I think you pulled a D100 out.
I think it's a plus. Yeah,
Insight.
I think it's a plus 20 to insight because it's his husband.
Like you have advantage because he has
Advantage.
advantage. because, because you're
Probably.
married.
He puts his palm against your cheek and kind of grasps the back of, like, you know, how people that love each other do things. And kind of pulls you in and says and gives you a very long kiss on your lips. And then whilst his face is still close to yours, he then pulls back slightly and says, well then, you better get to it. Because the sooner you leave, the sooner you come back.
Sounds good. find a book that we both can read. Set out tea for me, and I'll be back before you know it.
Well, Hosen, you know, I only read comic books, and that's not really your thing, so I'm not sure what we're gonna
I
be.
know.
That's fine.
I'll do it for you.
That's fine. I'll talk to the librarian. She'll give us some suggestions.
Gotcha.
And then Balthazar looks over at Second, and I apologize. I kind of just jumped ahead because I was like, I need to do this scene as well. But is there anything else that you would like to do or see inside of this area first before we kind of like, you are now leaving?
Oh, before like leaving. Oh yeah, there's two things that I kind of want. Yeah.
Leaving Balthazar's place.
Oh, certainly. Yeah, if you want to do the scene with Second first, go for it.
Okay, cool. So, in the way that I'm thinking about this, the four of you are leaving and headed out. And then Balthazar kind of opens up the front door and calls out and says, Second, you mind coming over here? I just want to talk to you real quick. He kind of kneels down and then, kind of trying to be out of earshot and whispering to Second, he says, I know what you did to save my Hosen in the battlefield. And I don't think I can thank you enough for what you done. And I want you to know that I would really appreciate it if you kept an eye on him, because something tells me that it's not going to be the last time that you do that.
Again, nods, thinks about it, and then says, good thing old Eshin Dex is taking a shine to you. You don't want to be on these roads alone, kid. Thanks to Eshin Dex, you don't have to be.
I'm not all that sure what that meant, but seems like we're in agreement. You're a good one, Second. And he puts his hand on your anatomical shoulder where a Kenku's shoulder would be. All right. Then he stands up and then goes back inside.
As the door's closing, Sunben just he's been kind of like staring at the ground like the whole time. Like it's a really awkward. So weird. Like they're totally talking about me right now. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
My introvert is showing now. And he battles against it and just says, thank you. I owe you a great debt, and I will one day hope to repay it.
Hosen stares at the door closing for a long time, turns around to you all, tears in his eyes, hugs you, Cinnabon. A nice big hug, lets go and goes, let's go get your family, all right? Wipes away the tears.
Are we thinking we're going to be on the road right now?
Well, we just want to see the mayor as well, but go on. Sorry.
No, it's fine. I know that it kind of glances at I'm sure there's like a trail of folks, removing food and things. I wanted to try something, but I need some time. Maybe I can help. I don't know if it'll work. But maybe I can help restore some of the plant life a bit and buy these wonderful people that have been so nice to me a bit more time.
Love that idea.
Here's the problem. I need 8 hours.
Oh.
Don't get me
Yeah,
wrong, I
time.
want to go right now, immediately, but I don't know if I could leave knowing that I didn't do everything that I could while I was here.
I'm okay with that.
Generosity is the province of the heavenly Saren Ray.
Now, where would you need to be for that 8 hours?
Well, kind of looks around. I suppose where things are supposed to be growing. Vegetables, things like that.
We could go out to the fields and just give you space and time.
All right. Suppose here goes nothing. And walk out into the fields.
So you want to do this before you talk to the mayor, or after?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
He will mention that if you want to, you could talk to the mayor without me. It's fine. Well, that's not. Well, this is happening.
Hosen was thinking that and maybe going, doing one more thing, but
Go with him.
Second, Big Mama, you good with that? Thoughts?
That's fine. But one thing, Big Mama does turn over to Hosen, and she grabs him by the loops of, like, you know, that the straps that cover his chest
Yeah.
with the leather. She grabs him, like, just, you know, straightens him up a little bit, but like a little jolt. She's like, you know what? Your husband should not have made such wonderful armor for you to wear that made you that much more of a hero. You shouldn't be so damn good at it. And then you became great. Does that make sense?
it reminds me of a quote of if a shipbuilder wanted to preserve their ship, they would leave it at the harbor.
Right.
That was their prime directive, but that's not what ships are made for.
Right.
Guess you're right.
Yeah. Yes. I think he's just trying to see what kind of determination you have, because you know he loves you. But I swear I could just kick him right in his pants right now. Just so you know. But I'm not one to just disrespect hospitality.
There's no need for that, but
I wouldn't. I liked his food.
thank you.
You are welcome.
As we walk towards the mayor, second, who obviously believes strongly in the preservation of life, is nothing if not a devout disciple of Saren Ray. They will reach out, grab Hosen's hand, and press into it a small wooden carving of Saren Ray's phoenix symbol. And having done so, will say, knowing that helping others can be difficult is a sign of wisdom. Choosing to do it anyway is a sign of faith.
Hosen begins crying. I think in this moment, surrounded by people that care about him, and he just starts crying, just very full of love, doing something, lying to his husband that he would be back. Not wanting to be a hero, but wanting to help. Thank you, Second. Thank all of you. You see, like, tears kind of run down his cheek that's still a little bit covered in dirt and just that trail that kind of wipes away some of the filth as he's kind of letting out these emotions. Ozen kind of straightens up, takes his carving, puts it in his pocket close to his chest, always there, always protecting him. I really hope that butler at the mayor's place isn't still there, because it kind of gave me the heebie-jeebies. But I'm ready to go talk to the mayor. Thank you, guys, all of you.
Of course.
All right. So, are all three of you going to speak with the mayor? And Cinnabon is staying back. He's out in the field somewhere. Okay. Perfect. So, you come up to the house that is, the mayor's residence. And I think Big Mama, given what we talked about before, you sneak a peek of the garden that has been growing outside. And you notice that there are a few less flowers there. It seems as though they've been clipped. So the stems are, like, the roots are there, but the stems are missing. Who's knocking on the door?
Big Mama will.
Yeah, I was about to say, Big Mama, do you want to?
Okay.
Yes.
You knock.
And
then you hear some footsteps coming closer to the door. And the door opens, and you see the butler. Yes.
God.
hi.
Yes. And then you hear the mayor say, "Get out!" And then the butler kind of like sheepishly puts their head down by their sinks their head, and then kind of walks off into another room. And then you see the mayor, who is currently in the middle of that sitting room enjoying a very large cigar. And he stands up knowing that he now has guests. And he says to you all, Come, welcome. I've heard the good news. It seems as though we've got a bit of a celebration on our hands. Come in, sit.
Big Mama like happily starts to walk in and then just realizes like kind of like a oh shit moment. Like we actually are covered in like dirt, dust, dried blood, disheveled, unwashed, and just she just tries to make it look good.
And then since you walk the maybe 15 feet down the hallway into the center area there, he also now realizes that and says, "Oh, well, maybe you should remain standing for the moment. I don't really want to ruin this fine upholstery. But anything for my heroes of Turst Fields. Tell me, was it an adventure? Was it exciting? Did you have a good time?"
Yes, to the first that it was an adventure. It definitely had some exciting moments. As far as a good time, I think we can use another word for what it was.
That was the wrong thing to say.
He says, I'm sure it was wonderful. Your wits up against an evil person of terrible villainy, and you using your strength to take them down. I'm sure it was wonderful all around.
Hosen's
It
just
was
sitting in the
revealing.
back. Just.
You can tell that the mayor is not picking up on how awkward this is, and he is doubling down on the fact that he fully doesn't understand what putting his life on the line is like, and so he thinks that this is sort of like, reading stories of battles and glory and honor and that sort of stuff has kind of corrupted the way that he sees this activity. So anyway, congratulations and all that. Now I'm sure there is I'm sure there's the payment that you're looking for here, and there's actually a curio on the back wall, and he walks over to this curio and opens up one of the drawers, and he reaches in. And as he reaches into the curio, I think at this point, let's see, Hosen, you said you're kind of standing in the back, and with your passive perception, you are kind of watching him to make sure that there's nothing untoward happening as he opens up this curio. And you see a glint on his hand as he reaches into the curio. You see a bracelet. And this bracelet is not fancy. It is maybe silver, sterling silver, or something along those lines. But that's not what is notable about this. You see that around his hands there is this trinket. I'm sorry. Around the bracelet there is a charm that hangs off of the bracelet. And even at this distance, you can tell that the shape of that charm is very close in shape to what you saw on the back of the Yeti. And we are going to end it right there.
Ah, fudge, I know what it is. I don't know how the shapes, how it was drawn or something. I was trying to do it while I'm over here tutting. But
I hate it. Thanks.
I'm gonna pull out my crossbow to shoot this dude.
All right. What
Yeah.
a
I kinda smell that,
fun
though.
episode that was. I swear.
Oh my
I
God.
did not expect it to be that emotionally ripping.
Yeah.
But
yeah, all the boys crying.
man, I got really choked up there a couple of times.
Jesus Christ.
Okay. So let's
Real quick before we go,
Please.
because can I quickly describe the spell that I'm casting before we bounce, or do you want to wait? It's up to you.
want to wait only because we're only like 30 minutes into the 8-hour casting cycle.
Oh, you don't even know what it looks like yet, though. That's what I mean.
Oh, okay. So you want to talk about like what it looks like as you're doing it?
Yeah.
Okay, fine. So
Yeah.
we zoom out of this scenario where you see the charm of the clasp around. his
Meanwhile,
wrist. And then we kind of pan over into the middle of the field and we see Cinnabon. And what is Cinnabon doing?
He has his these two staffs, his and his sister's, sort of out, and he's looking at the bottom of them, and they're actually identical, with the exception of kind of like your old like Power Ranger toys, CBG, HBG, and he's just staring at his sisters. I will reunite you soon. And he like around both of his hands, there's probably a concern that people are looking because it looks like there's like a small ember of fire in his left hand, and in his right hand, outstretched are the outline of long like vines, and they begin to sort of just extend out from both of the staffs, and he's going to begin to spin them and start kind of casting plant growth for 8 hours.
Damn.
Fantastic. All right. Let's wrap it up. Let's do outros.
Cool.
Let's talk about who we are and where we can be found, what we're doing coming up. And let's start that out with Rain.
My name is Smitty. Jacob. I'm Billiam. Okay, actually, I'm Alex, but you can find me online as Virgo_Rain on TikTok and Instagram with all my cosplay and mermaiding adventures. But I can't wait to come back to have some more revelations, delving into with this. Love it.
Let's go to you next, Duval.
Oh, hey. Hi, everybody. I am Jacob Plick, Duval King Jacob, on the internets. We'll see if I shoot tomorrow, because I don't have a computer right now. I might have one tomorrow. I really don't know. So maybe we'll play some Final Fantasy 9. Or I don't know. We'll see what happens. Thursday, as I mentioned right at the top of the show, Blood In, Blood Out, our Blades in the Dark campaign finale is Thursday night, 9 p.m. Eastern time. It's going to be a wild one. We're a group of assassins, and I'm going after the biggest target of the campaign right now. Well, that's finale makes sense. Friday, the Fables Once and Future, our Urban Shadows game based off of Wolf Among Us and the Fables comics, is that finale. The second part 2 of that finale airs Friday night over on Carrion Cover Studios. It's a wild one, and I am so excited for that to finally be released. I've been jonesing for folks to see it because Buffkin has become one of my favorite characters I've ever played. And he has an incredible ending that I'm really proud of. And then of course on Sunday, it's back at So Many Games, Duval and Dragons episode 42, The Meaning of Life, as you do. And it's just going down there as well. So that's over on So Many Games Twitch at 7:30 p.m. Eastern time. And then back here on Tuesday, where we'll see if this spell works. It might fucking not.
All right, and let's kick it over to Alex.
Well, hello everyone. My name is Alex, or you can find me on Twitch and Twitter as Ziva RPG. I got nothing else coming up. I would like to shout out Paradise Productions, who just finished up their campaign 1.
Oh my god, it's so late.
so good.
So good.
Check out their channel. Love them to pieces. I wanted to share. They've been streaming this campaign for like 3 years and finally wrapped up. Wild. And it's been an honor to be here with you all. Thank you so much.
Thank you, dude. Now, how about you, Smitty? What do you got going on?
PB Smitty on the interwebs tomorrow. I think I will be on So Many Games at 8 p.m. for The Agency, playing everyone's favorite angry, retirement-bound tabaxi detective.
One day.
One of these days.
Shadows of Dusk.
One day. Shadows of Dusk.
And I said Shadows of Dusk, which is his full name, but also shout out to Dusk, Duval.
Amazing.
Here every Tuesday, Avi. And of course, who can forget, every other Thursday, 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central, 7 p.m. Mountain, 6 p.m. Pacific, AM GMs in the PM.
The PM.
Where me, Philadelphia, and sometimes Joni Mitchell have a hell of a time bringing it to you.
Bringing them noodles.
Bringing them noodles.
And my name is Philadelphia, and I have been deeply involved in a marketing course on how to properly promote things like streams, because apparently referencing things from 20 years ago is not cool or hip or helpful in your marketing activities. So that was lesson 1. I'm very excited for what lesson 2 is going to be about. So we'll see how I end up marketing AMGMs in the PM next week.
Yeah, lesson 2 was not putting when you're marketing something, you should put the channel, the time, the name of the thing you're actually marketing, and maybe a link in said marketing.
Sorry, I didn't hear any of that. So now what you can do,
but it is so Bill though that like I love it so much.
You can find me on Twitter at Philadelphia. But yeah, beyond that, I am enjoying being 37. God damn it.
God damn it.
So we are going to head over to raid Lonzo Gonzo, who is doing some Moonscars tonight. But before we do that, Jacob, do you wanna get us out?
Absolutely. Not a day over 53, ain't that right, Smitty? Smack dab. I'll be 36 on Saturday. So it's just we're just a bunch of tired people on the amphitheater now. But as always, on the amphitheater, we'd like to remind you of the following absolute truths: that Black Lives Matter, trans rights are human rights, stop AAPI hate. And if you don't have a uterus, you don't get to tell people what uterus is, what to do with theirs. It's not your uterus, not your fucking business. Climate change is real. It's really hot. Well, actually, it's cold right now, but you get the idea. And lastly, but certainly not leastly, choose love. We're gonna get out of here. Give Lonzo some love. It is also like we're also making sure you support all of your Latine friends, because it is their fucking month, and it should be every fucking month that you should do that. So we out of here. Let's go say what up to Lonzo. Have a good rest of your night, everybody.
Good night.
Elder Theater, good God.